Today, we're diving into a really critical moment in early Christianity, the Jerusalem Council. Now, for a lot of people, this was basically when a new, much simpler set of rules was made for non-Jewish followers. But what if that's not the whole picture? What if the council's decision has been, well, kind of misunderstood for centuries? Let's take a closer look.
And, this wasn't just some friendly debate. The argument at the Jerusalem Council could have literally split the entire early Christian movement right in two. The core question was absolutely fundamental. What does it actually mean to follow Jesus if you weren't born Jewish? The answer they came up with was going to shape the future of the faith, for sure.
The whole thing really boils down to this one question you see on the screen. Was the council's decision meant to be the end of the conversation? A final fixed list of rules and that's it? Or was it actually the beginning of something, an on-ramp to a much, much deeper journey? The answer, as we're about to see, really changes everything.
Okay, so what's the common take on this decision? Well, it all revolves around four very specific things that non-Jewish believers were told not to do. Let's break those down.
So for a really long time, the standard understanding has been that these four rules were the whole package. The idea was, hey, here's a new, simplified law just for the non-Jews, and it's meant to completely replace the much bigger, much more detailed law of Moses from the Hebrew scriptures. So here they are, straight out of the book of Acts. You've got avoid food that's been offered to idols, steer clear of sexual immorality, don't eat meat from strangled animals, and don't consume blood. Seems pretty straightforward, right? A clear, short list. But is that all there is to it? All right, now this is where things get super interesting. The real key to understanding this whole thing in a different light might just be in a single verse that people often just skim right over, even though it comes immediately after the four rules. It's been hiding in plain sight this whole time. And this is the crucial part. See, the council didn't just rattle off a list of rules and walk away. They actually explained why they chose these four specific rules. And that reason, it's sitting right there in the very next verse. And there it is, Acts 15, verse 21. James, who's kind of leading this meeting, he justifies the list by saying this: "For Moses has been preached in every city and is read in the synagogues on every Sabbath." Now that should make you stop and go, wait a minute. What is Moses being read every single week have to do with this short list of four rules? That one verse, it changes everything. It suggests the rules weren't meant to replace the teachings of Moses. They were meant to be a gateway to them. They were a set of minimum standards just to get everyone in the same room together. Our source material calls this a minimum standard for fellowship. A great way to think about it is like an entry pass. These four rules were the absolute basics needed so that Jewish and non-Jewish believers could hang out and build a community without causing huge offense. It wasn't the final exam, it was just the prerequisite to even sign up for the class. And this chart right here just lays it out so clearly. On one side, you've got the common view. It's a final list, and it replaces the law of Moses. But on the other side, you've got this new perspective. It's just a starting point, an entry pass to actually start learning Moses. This totally shifts the focus from a static, one-and-done set of rules to a dynamic journey of growth. I mean, when you look at it this way, James's logic is just brilliant. The problem is you can't overwhelm new folks with everything at once. The solution? Okay, let's set four basic rules so they can join the community. And here's the genius part. The reason it works is because once they're in the community, they're going to be in the synagogue every single week, hearing the teachings of Moses and learning the rest over time. It's an amazing onboarding strategy, really.
So what's the big picture takeaway from all this? Well, this way of looking at it doesn't just change how we see one historical event. It kind of redefines the whole idea of faith as this ongoing journey of discovery.
And that's the powerful takeaway here. Faith isn't a checklist of rules you just have to follow to be in. Instead, it's this dynamic, lifelong journey. It's about learning and growing and doing it together with other people in a community. This quote from our source material just says it perfectly. The four rules weren't the finish line. They were the front door to the community. They were never the destination. They were just the invitation to start a much, much deeper journey. And this all leads us to a final, pretty big question that goes way beyond ancient history. What if we started seeing rules in our own lives, not as endpoints, but as entryways? What if their main purpose isn't to restrict us, but to actually invite us into a richer, more meaningful experience? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.